There's a lot of misinformation out there, but the reality of it is that it all came together Friday night, like at midnight. I got woken up out of my sleep that this is the fight they wanted to make, and then it was an all night. It was legitimately, I did not sleep after that. I didn't go to sleep till the next night, and it was funny. Hunter didn't go to sleep either. Islam is injured, right? So that fight wasn't something that was a done deal, and then it fell apart. So Gaethje stepped in. It was one of those like, hey, if we can make Islam fight, do you want to do that? All right. If not, you guys can do Gaethje, right? We had our choice, and we said yes to Islam, and we said yes to Gaethje.
He knows the White House cards. Like he knows that they were pushing this for over a year, and it fell extremely short of expectations.
Okay, so Ilia Topuria just dropped some massive accusations against Islam Makhachev, saying Islam basically ducked their fight when it came to the White House card, and this guy is not playing around with these claims whatsoever. The way Topuria tells it, he was completely locked and loaded for this matchup, like zero hesitation on his end. But right when everything looked set to go and this huge opportunity was staring them both in the face, the whole thing just imploded. The reason? Islam's injury magically appeared at the perfect time to shut down the fight right when it mattered most.
I didn't go to sleep till the next night, and it was funny. Hunter didn't go to sleep either. We were told that Ilia was not going to be on the card earlier that week, right? Then we get a call that said, hey, if we can make a fight, you can fight Islam or Gaethje. We were focused on getting an Islam fight. So when you hear Dana say, well, that was never a fight, it was because it was talked about, but there was no agreement to fight anybody. So then Wednesday I got asked, would you guys want to do this or that? And we said, absolutely. They gave us a number. We said, absolutely not. And then we didn't hear anything after that, right? I'm sleeping Friday afternoon. So Friday night, early, I went to bed. I'm thinking we're not on the card. It's just not happening. They haven't called me. They're announcing they're going to announce it by Saturday. I say that this shit was crazy. It was like they already said, we're going to announce on Saturday the card. 12 midnight, literally 12 midnight till almost 11 o'clock, 11:30 the next morning, right? It was just nonstop negotiating between, I'm on the phone with Hunter for an hour and change, and then I'm on the phone with Ilia for an hour and change. So like, all right, so again, to accurately give the whole thing, I specifically called Hunter and said, do you guys plan on using Ilia for this fight at all in any way, shape, or form? If the answer is no, he's going back to Spain. If he goes back to Spain, right, and you guys call in a month or through 6 weeks or whatever for him to fight, you know how that's going to go. It's not going to be a simple negotiation like, I don't know which fight fell apart. I can't call it Islam. Islam is injured, right? So that fight wasn't something that was a done deal and then it fell apart, so Gaethje stepped in. It was one of those like, hey, if we can make Islam fight, do you want to do that? All right. If not, you guys can do Gaethje, right? We had our choice, and we said yes to Islam, and we said yes to Gaethje. It was just more about the numbers.
You can feel the anger in Topuria's voice when he said Islam comes up with another excuse, and this round it's supposedly an injury. He broke down how he always felt in his bones that the White House event was meant for him, like some kind of predetermined fate. Even after the UFC straight up told him they weren't planning to use him for the event, which had to sting pretty bad. But he recognized it was all part of those backstage politics that happen constantly. When they circled back and confirmed he'd be on the White House card, Islam's name got thrown out as the opponent. And here's what's wild, Topuria jumped on that fight instantly, no second thoughts, even though nothing was set in stone yet. The White House announcement was supposed to drop the next morning, so when he woke up expecting great news, he discovered Islam had mysteriously gotten hurt. What a brutal way to ruin your morning.
And the White House card, there's a lot of reporting out of Spain today saying that it was going to be Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, and that fight fell apart on Friday. Well, Justin Gaethje also said like he was told Thursday he wasn't on the card, and then on Friday he was.
That is true.
What happened with Islam, I guess, because you know how fans are, a lot of them.
That's not true, I said.
Sure. So
it was never Islam versus Topuria, yeah.
So anyone who thinks Islam ducked this fight or anything like that, it's all incorrect.
Don't worry about what fights are being made. We announced which ones are made and which ones will be happening. I told you there were some weird circumstances. The reason that fight fell out, and it wasn't up on stage with Mick Hunter and Sean, it was that power slap that the fight fell apart that night. That's how Gaethje ended up on the card. And Topuria wasn't originally supposed to be on the card either. So he got the call too.
When can we expect to see Islam Makhachev back?
I don't know. He's got some hand issues. I know that. I don't know how serious the hand issues are or how long that will keep him out, but yeah, he's injured.
So Topuria didn't just sit around feeling defeated after that whole mess collapsed on him. He pivoted completely toward Justin Gaethje with a threat that sounds pretty menacing if you ask me. He spelled out that Gaethje is about to get punished for Islam bailing on the fight, like he's going to unleash all that built-up anger and let down on Justin at the White House event. Topuria guaranteed it would be over fast, which is fighter speak for planning to end this thing quickly and brutally. But then things got even more heated and personal. Topuria took this random shot at Islam's manager Ali Abdelaziz, who also represents Justin Gaethje, creating this weird triangle situation, and that's when Justin Gaethje entered the picture. Topuria called him out straight up, saying here's another guy who's going to suffer because Islam ran away, and then he really crossed the line with personal attacks. He said both their managers are, well, he wasn't exactly kind about it, adding that they're hideous too, which is just savage and probably over the top, but that's MMA trash talk for you. Then he spoke directly to Justin, saying see you at the White House, while making this weird claim about his character. He insisted he's not the type to humiliate opponents, which seems contradictory given what he just said, but then promised Gaethje would get finished quickly. He described this scenario where Justin wakes up and it's all done, implying a knockout so devastating that Gaethje won't remember what happened.
It was amazing. I kind of knew, but I'm not almost crying, but I'm very proud. Promise.
Islam Makhachev definitely wasn't going to let those accusations just hang there without responding. Absolutely not. He came back hard at Topuria with his own story, pointing fingers at who he says really chickened out of this whole mess. Makhachev brushed off all the social media insults and provocations like they were worthless and didn't merit serious attention. But then he delivered his own promise that carries real menace, warning Topuria that he'll get to feel his fists eventually, which is basically a guarantee of future octagon violence. He explained this fight could happen without all the complicated business dealings or massive paydays that fighters and their teams usually battle over for ages. Islam laid it out clearly when he said we both understand who really backed down here, flipping the narrative completely and throwing the blame right back at Topuria. He admitted you can try hiding your fear behind angry social media posts, but promise don't worry, someday you'll receive exactly what you're asking for, which sounds like a definite future fight commitment. And then Islam fired back at the management angle, speaking to Topuria's team and saying your overweight manager doesn't need to demand billions to get this fight, hinting that excessive money requests might have caused the whole problem. He closed with this confident declaration, I'll do it without payment, basically saying he's so sure of victory and so eager to fight that money becomes irrelevant.
2 days ago, I got a call and they said, you're definitely not fighting on the White House card. So I was like,
Wow, really?
Okay.
And then yesterday I got a call and they said, you might hear something. You might be on the White House card. And I was like, how are you going to go complete 180 turn on me? And then today I found out that I was on it. I didn't know if I was main event.
During all this, Ilia Topuria's manager Malki Kawa jumped into the discussion to clear up all the rumors that were circulating about the White House card drama, because there were multiple conflicting stories making the rounds. Kawa wanted to set the record straight about what really happened behind closed doors, revealing that the UFC originally told Topuria point blank that he wouldn't be included in the event, which had to be tough news to break to your fighter. But then things shifted, like they always do in this crazy business, and the promotion returned with the option of fighting either Islam Makhachev or Justin Gaethje, presenting them with choices for who Topuria's opponent might be on that huge card.
Ilia is one of the greatest of all time. I think he's going to go down as, he knocked out Alexander Volkanovski, knocked out Max Holloway, knocked out Charles Oliveira, back to back to back, and knocked out 3 Hall of Famers in a row.
And do you think he would beat Islam Makhachev?
It's definitely possible. Those guys, number 1 and number 2 pound for pound in the world, I think that's the fight we need to see next. It sucks because Islam's probably not going to come back down to 155. Ilia going up to 170 doesn't make. I mean, he's not a huge guy. He's definitely, he could be walking around 185, 190. He's pretty thick. So I think that's the fight that I'd like to see as like the White House main event.
Ali Abdelaziz, who never stays silent when his fighters get attacked, shot back at Topuria with his own statement, promising that the real story would surface soon and everyone would see what actually went down. Abdelaziz mentioned that Ramadan provided a brief break in all this arguing, which matters in the Muslim community and impacts fighters like Islam who practice the faith. But he made it obvious that in 9 days, once that period finishes, everybody's going to get called out for their dishonesty, suggesting he's got proof or documentation to support his version. One thing he said he could guarantee everyone is that Dana White was completely right when he said this short fighter talking about Topuria wasn't even being considered for the Islam fight. That directly challenges Topuria's whole story and makes this situation even messier.
Oh, he knows the White House card sucks. Like, he knows that they were pushing this for over a year, and it fell extremely short of expectations. I mean, he was so upset about it. He was talking about a fight falling out the day before. You know, it's I can guarantee you he's not happy with it either, and he's the one that taught me through example to speak my mind.
Dana White himself had to step in and explain the reality around Topuria and Islam Makhachev, because as UFC president, he's the guy who actually knows what's happening with fight bookings. White made it clear that their potential fight wasn't the bout that got cancelled on Friday, which many people thought based on all the social media chaos. He clarified that Topuria was never actually booked for the card to begin with, regardless of what might have been discussed or worked out in private. Dana also confirmed that Makhachev is legitimately dealing with a hand injury, which backs up Islam's explanation for why the fight fell through. White stressed something important for fans to remember, that only fights officially announced by the promotion should be considered real, because everything else is just gossip and rumors until the UFC confirms it.
It was meant to be. It was meant to push us onto the other side, and once they've moved into the streaming model, it's just not about putting on the best fights possible anymore. You know, Dana is legally beholden to the shareholders and to maximize shareholder value. And unfortunately, now that they've taken the reins from the company away from him, it's barely recognizable now. And they need to be saved from themselves. And luckily, I'm here to be their hero.
Justin Gadeshot, on his end, showed real enthusiasm after his fight with Topuria got officially announced for the White House card, because this represents a huge chance no matter how it happened. Gadeshot said he felt honored to be included in the event, which totally makes sense considering the historical importance and spotlight this card is receiving. He called the opportunity an amazing experience he was excited to embrace, displaying that fighter mentality that's made him such a beloved figure throughout his career.
I was saying this out loud, and I will still say this, not only to John Jones, but everyone that out there and who's probably in the same situation, because I think most of them are in the same situation. We are not an employee, we are independent contractor, and then we should be able to get what we deserve, and if we don't get, we will be able to have a right to walk away and go look other option. Because the thing now is that there is always like contract tying people up, and then they can get free, and then you want to set free, and then they muscles you up, you know, and lowball you. But I'm happy I'm out of that. That's all what I can say.
There's a vocal part of the fan base that has been disappointed since you left the UFC. You've ruined your legacy because we haven't seen you fight.
What? Give me a definition of legacy.
Your lasting memory in the sport, I guess, maybe what is
like who?
Muhammad Ali.
Like Muhammad Ali. Okay, let me tell you what's the legacy. My legacy right now is my kids back home, is my family back home, getting health care, getting security, being able to put food on the table, being able to put roof on their head. That's a better legacy. You can have the Muhammad Ali legacy or whatever you want. If your kid cannot attend to school, he has no place in the society. If your kid doesn't have food in the stomach, that legacy doesn't help you for anything. You cannot go to the store or in the gas station or at school and pay the scholarship with a legacy. You have to understand that this is a bullshit that promotion fit street fighter with, and they're all out there fighting for legacy. Good for you.
Gatekie shared something fascinating about how this all played out from where he was sitting, explaining that he was originally told he wouldn't be part of the White House event whatsoever, which had to be crushing news, only to discover later, probably quite suddenly, that he'd been added to the card after all. The quick turnaround caught him off guard, which makes perfect sense when you think you're sitting at home and suddenly you've got a massive fight on a legendary card. But that surprise also fired up his excitement to get in there and battle, because that's what fighters dream about, these huge moments on the biggest possible stages.
What do you make about the beef between Eddie Hearn and Dana White?
I think it's very entertaining, and I just think it's good content and good for both of their promotional abilities, and I think we'll see more UFC fighters go and sign with Eddie Hearn, which I think is a very smart move on their part.
Meanwhile, Sean O'Malley jumped in with his take on the whole mess, and Sugar definitely had opinions about what should have gone down with this card. O'Malley insisted that the fight between Topuria and Islam Makhachev should have been the main event of the White House card, which is pretty bold considering the fights that actually made it on there. He highlighted Topuria's record, which is seriously impressive. The guy's never lost and holds a championship, and argued that fans are hungry for this fight to happen. O'Malley labeled it the next major battle the sport requires, suggesting this is the fight that would really grab everyone's attention and give hardcore fans exactly what they want to see.
Have this new usher of fans who love the product. I mean, the gate was $8.3 million. I don't know what the I don't know. I think the revenue was $8.3 million. I think the attendance was like 19,000 fans. And I'm not sure what the Paramount Plus numbers did. And I always tell Michael, I was like, they're not worried about you as a fan, Michael. They don't give two shits about you. They're not worried about me. They're looking for that new era of audience that they're trying to capture. They're not worried about the hardcore fans, right? The hardcore fans are either going to move on, which I did when it came to WWE, and WWE continues to keep on selling out. And so for me, there's just, you have to take the UFC for what it's worth. Like, I love the thing you just posted. I watched it on YouTube. You said the Lone Karbanoff versus Brandon Moreno. You're like, nobody asked for this fucking fight. And I was like, let me see Luke Thomas cook real quick. And I sat to listen to it. And I was like, you know, at the end of the day, when does the UFC ever make fights that we like? Did Diego Lopez versus Alex Volkanovski need to happen? Do they ever listen to the fans? That's one company that's never listened to the fucking fans. So it's almost like, are they going to start now?
But here's where things get spicy from a business perspective. Dana White is catching major heat for his choices on the White House card, with people questioning whether he picked the right fights for such a historic moment. And Ronda Rousey, who's always been willing to call out the UFC, didn't hold back when discussing Dana White and the White House card situation. She dropped something pretty damaging, claiming that he knew perfectly well it disappointed, despite the promotion spending a full year building hype for this event. Based on Rousey's reading of things, White wasn't happy with how the card performed, which, if accurate, is a pretty big admission considering how much marketing and promotional power got poured into this thing. Rousey pushed even harder, absolutely destroying the UFC's current path, saying it has moved completely away from its foundation of putting on the best possible fights, which attacks the very heart of what the promotion claims to represent. She argued that since Dana White stepped away from running everything day to day, which happened slowly as the company expanded and added more corporate layers, the promotion looks nothing like what it used to be in those early years. That's brutal criticism from someone who was once the company's biggest star and helped transform it into the mainstream giant it became. Now switching to another huge story that's been unfolding, Jon Jones has voiced his anger with the UFC situation and actually demanded they release him from his contract, which is like going nuclear in terms of fighter versus promoter relationships. Francis Ngannou responded to Jon Jones's drama with what looked like real respect and backing, which makes total sense given Francis's own messy history with the UFC and his eventual exit. Ngannou called watching everything develop yesterday captivating, which it definitely was if you were tracking it live on social media. He told Jones directly that if he can secure his release from the promotion, then he completely deserves every reward he's earned throughout his legendary run. Francis Ngannou explained his position when he said watching this unfold yesterday was really intriguing, and I have plenty to say, but right now, John, if you can get your freedom, then contact me. He emphasized that Jones has earned that $30 million plus after everything he's contributed to the sport across more than 10 years at the peak, and the UFC should be treating him like royalty instead of getting into these public battles with someone of his status and accomplishments. Daniel Cormier also offered his viewpoint and compassion for Jon Jones, which means something considering their complex history as enemies who fought twice and had serious bad blood for years. DC said you could see how badly Jones wanted to compete on the card, and it showed in his messages and posts. Cormier described him as heartbroken, stuck in bed, and completely destroyed by missing the chance to be part of this historic event. DC broke down his thoughts when he said, "I actually felt sorry for Jon because you could tell he desperately wanted to fight on that card. He looked crushed, lying there in bed, totally devastated." Cormier dug deeper into what this represents in Jones's career, calling it basically a reality check moment where everything becomes clear. He noted that at 28 or 29 years old, no matter what you did as a fighter, you had power and the promotion couldn't survive without you. He brought up when Jones got that whole event scrapped with the Chael Sonnen situation years ago, and they said he'd never headline again, but since he was moving pay-per-views at a high rate, they had to come crawling back eventually. But now Cormier pointed out, at 38 or 39 years old, Jones has damaged hips and injuries stocking up, and it seems like he's heading toward retirement, whether he accepts it or not. DC's evaluation was pretty harsh, saying it's basically like you're not gonna bring value to me long term, so the UFC figures they don't need to break their backs for him like they used to. Francis Ngannou revealed more about why he publicly backed Jon Jones in this mess, thinking about his own journey after leaving the UFC and how rough that entire experience was. Ngannou emphasized that fighters shouldn't be stuck in contracts that restrict their choices and stop them from maximizing their money and career possibilities. He demanded they deserve respect from the promotions they compete for, which has been his constant message since leaving and moving to boxing and PFL. On the flip side, Jake Paul, who's been forcing himself into MMA conversations constantly, suggested that UFC fighters might benefit from looking at opportunities outside the promotion, instead of staying loyal to an organization that might not appreciate them correctly. Paul predicted more athletes would decide to sign with Eddie Hearn and compete in boxing or other promotions, calling it a brilliant move financially and professionally for fighters who have leverage and recognition. Former UFC champion Demetrius Johnson also blasted the UFC for changing their focus away from longtime supporters who built the sport into what it is now. Mighty Mouse argued the promotion is chasing younger viewers, which makes business sense but has consequences. He said they're abandoning the hardcore fans in the process, making it obvious that the dedication and passion of the original fan base aren't a priority anymore, as they try expanding into new markets and demographics. So that wraps up everything from this breakdown, and we really hope you enjoyed getting into all this controversy and drama around the White House card, the Topuria versus Islam mess, and everything happening with Jon Jones and where the UFC stands right now. Drop your thoughts about the whole Topuria versus Islam situation and the White House card in the comments, because we want to know what you think about who's being honest and whether the right fights are getting made. And definitely hit that subscribe button for more content covering all the latest news, drama, and fights in mixed martial arts, because things are constantly changing and there's always more stories to dig into.